There's been a rash of backyard decks collapsing all across the country. How do you know if yours is safe? Consumer correspondent Susan Koeppen is here with some potentially life-saving information. Good morning.
Good morning, Harry. Here's a look at some of the recent cases. 15 people at a wedding in Florida hurt when the deck ripped off the house. 7 people hurt at a party in New Jersey. 9 in Cincinnati. 6 in Casper, Wyoming. In all of these cases, the decks collapsed without warning. And experts say 50% of all decks in the U.S. are probably unsafe.
It was the perfect little week getaway in the Smoky Mountains.
In the summer of 2003, Brian and Jen Talmadge rented a secluded cabin in the hills of Tennessee.
Everything was gorgeous and brand new, so I didn't think anything would be wrong.
But after days of relaxing on the cabin's 2-story deck, the unthinkable happened.
I lit the grill, I stepped inside, and that's when I heard this lightning bolt-like crash.
That noise was the deck collapsing, with Jen still on it.
I just remember thinking, this is it.
Jen fell 40 feet, along with a hot tub and a hot barbecue grill.
It was just a mess, lumber everywhere, dust coming up, and in my mind I'm thinking, there's no way she made it through that.
Jen was alive, but badly injured, with broken bones and third-degree burns from the grill.
She survived somehow.
Over the past 10 years, nearly 1,000 people have been hurt or killed in deck collapses in the United States.
We estimate that at least 50% of the decks out there, approximately 20 million decks, need some type of repair or replacement. It's done with bolts.
We asked structural engineer Ricardo Arevalo to walk us through the warning signs of a dangerous deck. These 2 decks may look alike, but looks can be deceiving.
So one of these decks can come tumbling down.
Very easily.
Just like that.
Just like that.
The deck on the left was in great shape. It had metal connectors, slats less than 4 inches apart, and most importantly, the deck was held together with screws and bolts.
The most critical connection of a deck is how it's attached to the house. This piece of wood is called the ledger board, and you can see how it's secured with screws to the structure of the house.
The other deck looked good, but up close, it was a different story.
What's the problem with this deck?
There are a lot of problems with this deck, but the main problem is that you see missing connections. You don't see any metal underneath this deck, and metal is what ties pieces of wood together. Another problem with this deck is cracked wood.
Rusty nails, that's a bad sign.
But the most crucial flaw was with the ledger board, the point where a deck attaches to a house.
If we look up here, the attachment is made with only nails, and that's very unsafe.
As you see in this demonstration, nails can pull out and a deck can come crashing down.
I know we set this up for a demonstration, but something like this is common. Homes across America?
It's very common. Sometimes people don't take decks seriously, but it's very important that decks be properly built and maintained.
The area we were in.
Jen and Brian Talmadge say they never thought to inspect the deck at the cabin.
So this deck with a hot tub was being held on.
A 2-story deck, too.
With nails?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just nails?
Just nails.
That's why I felt like it did.
Brian and Jen now check every deck before stepping foot.
The biggest thing that I would say is don't take it for granted that your deck is safe. Check. Make sure that it's safe.
The average life expectancy of a wood deck is 10 to 15 years, Harry. And let me just say, Trust me, I was underneath my deck this weekend checking it out, looking.
Now, you were in a deck collapse yourself, right?
I was. In high school, we were at a party on a deck outside of a kitchen. The entire deck just ripped off the side of the house. Luckily, it was low to the ground, so we all just slid off. Nobody seriously injured.
But this happens more often than people suspect. Our own Jill Schlesinger, she said it happened to her mother.
Her mother, yeah.
Her mother ended up being burned from the charcoal
from the grill.
Okay, so if you're going to address this problem, sometimes we saw it in that one in the one case, they just use nails. Would this make a difference if you had serious screws like this?
Yeah, and these are 50 cents. A fix to your deck could be as cheap as 50 cents, maybe thousands if you have to replace it, but make sure your deck has screws, not just nails.
There you go. Word to the wise. Susan Koeppen, as always, thank you so much. For more on protecting and building safer decks, go to our website. That's earlyshow.cbsnews.com.